about to be very nervous about our selection.
I think so.
Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome to the Mott Community College Board of Trustees meeting for April 24th. Before we begin our meeting, we have some housekeeping to take care of. At the last meeting, there was discussion onto whether or not we would have prayer at the beginning of the meeting. You will notice on our agenda that it is not listed. The committee meetings, both the personnel and finance, there was a discussion about this with our board attorney. Perhaps in the future, we will bring prayer to the college for a prayer room or in some other way. But at this point, we are not going to be doing this at the beginning of the meeting. So I wanted to let you know where that stood at this time. At this time, I would ask those of you that are able to please rise so that we can do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Are there any additions to the agenda this evening? No additions to the agenda? I would like to have a motion to accept the agenda, Mr. Chair, as it is written. I so move. We have a motion from Trustee Reyes. Is there a second? A second from Trustee Swanson. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We now have a special recognition, and Madam President, do you have any employees or students for recognition this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do. I'd like to have Vice President Jason Wilson to come up to speak to student academic success.
Thank you, Dr. Beverly. Mr. Chair, members of the board, good evening. It's good to be with you this evening. We have several students and faculty to celebrate. I'd like to start with a student, Kelly Minto, who has become one of this year's Newman Civic Fellows. Kelly was selected as one of Campus Compact's Civic Fellows for the 23-24 cohort, and Kelly is one of 150 civic leaders chosen from across, hey Kelly, come on, chosen from across 38 states. The Newman Civic Fellowship is a one-year fellowship for community committed college students from Campus Compact member institutions. The fellowship recognizes students who stand out for their commitment to creating positive change in communities locally and around the world. It is named for the late Frank Newman, one of Campus Compact's founders, who was a tireless advocate for civic engagement in higher education. In the spirit of Dr. Newman's leadership, fellows are nominated by Campus Compact member presidents and chancellors who are invited to select one outstanding student from their campus each year. So let's celebrate Kelly. And if you would like to say a few words.
I am honored to be part of this group of emerging civic leaders from across the country. As part of the 2023-24 cohort, I expect to be challenged, inspired, and motivated to continue making a difference in my community. I hope to develop my leadership skills further, expand my knowledge and understanding of civic engagement, and create lasting connections with like-minded individuals who share my passion to create positive change. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of the Newman Civic Fellowship, and I am committed to making the most of this experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have recognition from the state, the Michigan Occupational Special Populations Association, or MOSPA as they're known. We received word that we had an award winner for their support staff designation and for their special population student. And so I'd like to call up Stephen Clapp and Wayne Kirby Roth to acknowledge them. First, we'll start with Stephen. The support staff award went to Stephen Clapp for his work as a professional technical lab technician for electrical and electronics, those programs. Stephen is one of our very valuable members of the team. He also works with my colleague, Robert Matthews, in the Workforce and Economic Development Program, and we're really honored to showcase Stephen as his many talents. So let's give it up for Stephen. And also awarded the Special Population Students, which is given to students that demonstrate perseverance, personal growth, and exemplary achievement. This was awarded to Wayne Kirby Roth for his perseverance as an adult student with a family and his work as a student worker in the HVAC labs. These awards will be given out at the annual MOSPA conference, which will be held May 3rd through the 5th at Boyne Mountain. That's a fun place to go, guys. Well, way to go. These awards are given from the State of Education Department in Education. So would you like to say something, Steve?
I'll just make it real quick. I appreciate the opportunity that Mott Community College has given me to achieve my dreams, which I believe that's one of the mantras that we actually have, is to make it so that we can help people achieve their dreams. And to say that my daughter is proud of her dad for being somebody that works at a college now means probably more than the award, but the rest of it I'll keep simple. 2 words. My wife said at one point in time I had to do 2 words. That's all I had to do, just do 2 words, and then I'll let you off the hook. So I'll use 2 this time and say thank you.
Take your time. Whatever you want to say.
I'm not used to doing this. I just wanted to say thank you to Mott for giving me the opportunity to grow as a person, and to all of my instructors for believing in me when I couldn't, and that's it.
All right, good deal. Okay. Next, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize the 2023 Student Writing Awards. These awards facilitated by Professor Michelle Denham, and our students that are with us this evening, Reem Salah and Jenna Morrison here. Okay. So a little bit about this, then I'm going to step aside. You guys can have the seats. MCC will honor 5 students at the 2023 Writing Awards this week, April 27th at 3 p.m. in the Visual Arts and Design Center. The Writing Awards are presented each year by the faculty of the English Department and the Arts and Humanities Division at the college this year. The work of this year's winners in poetry nonfiction categories will be published, along with the work of the 2022 winners, first and second place in poetry, first place in nonfiction, and first place in short fiction, in the newly revived literary and arts journal, The Blue Heron, which I think you'll hear a little bit more about. Certainly, this showcases our outstanding student work in the visual arts, and the Writing Awards will be given in 4 categories this year. The 2023 award recipients are Sharon Naughton.
That's the name of the award.
Oh, that's the word, okay.
Yeah.
Gabrielle. Okay, the Sharon Naughton Poetry Award, tied for first place is Gabrielle Jackson of Flint for My Adoration of Her, and Raheem Salah of Grand Blanc for Jittering Men. The Anna Bradley Nonfiction Award, first place will be awarded to Kimberly Herrick of Lapeer for Independence at the Pond. And the Anna Bradley Research or Critical Essay, first place in this award will go to Jenna Morrison of Flint for the benefits of secular higher education on Christian faith. The Baramito Family Award will be awarded to Sarah Shea of Flint. The Baramito Award is given to students in the writing program who mirrors the qualities exemplified by former English professor Joseph Baramito, who died in 2003. The winner of this award must exhibit such strengths as a positive spirit and attitude, strong work ethic, helpfulness to others, creative facility of self-expression and writing skills, contributions to an outstanding classroom environment, and the ability to meet life's challenges. So with that, Michelle, I will turn it over to you.
Have a seat. Yes, so we are having our first in-person writing award ceremony in 3 years. First post-pandemic writing award ceremony Thursday afternoon in the Visual Arts and Design Center in the gallery space. This event also marks the revival of our literary and arts magazine, The Blue Heron, which is a collaboration of the newly merged Humanities Division and Arts Division. You can see an image of the cover. This was a publication that originally was launched many, many years ago that we're bringing back as a way of marking the centennial. And all of the creative winners from this year's awards and last year's awards in poetry, nonfiction, and fiction will be published there. And I have with me today 2 of our winners from this year. This is Reem Salah, who won first place in poetry both last year and this year, and Jenna Morrison, who won for her research paper this year.
I just wanted to say that I truly appreciate winning this award, because before I won this award, I was confused on where I wanted to go in life. So when I won this award, it showed me that I could do much more than I expect of myself, and I'm genuinely thankful, and this is where I could say this is where it all started.
Yeah, I'd also like to thank especially my professors for believing in me and helping me formulate, this specific paper, but my voice as a writer. So.
Thank you very much.
Next, we'd like to recognize our own Jill Sote, Director of Library Services for Mott Library, who was selected as Vice Chair, Chair-elect for the Community and Junior College Library section of, everybody sneaks up on me up here, Library section of the Association of College and Research Libraries. Representing nearly 9,000 individuals and libraries, the Association of College and Research Libraries, the largest division of the American Library Association, develops programs, products, and services to those working in academic and research libraries to learn, innovate, and lead within the academic community. Founded in 1940, ACRL is committed to advancing learning, transforming scholarship, and creating diverse and inclusive communities. Jill.
Yes, I'm actually pleased and proud that I'll be representing the Community and Junior Colleges Library section, which is really the voice for community and junior college library staff around the country and actually around the world. We do have international members as well. And so I have served for many years in various ACRL and CJCLS committees in various capacities, been appointed to different ones. I'm actually also the membership chair for the ACRL membership committee, and I'm excited about taking over this new opportunity starting in July.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And finally, Mr. Chair, we'd like to acknowledge Becky Garsky. Nobody's sneaking up on me this time. Hey, Becky. She has been awarded the Betty Garlick Lifetime Achievement Award. On April 20th, MCC's own Becky Garsky, retired early childhood education program coordinator, was presented with the Betty Garlick Lifetime Achievement Award from the Michigan Association for the Education of Young Children. Becky has devoted her career to early childhood education and advocating for higher quality education across all communities. Her career traversed the field of early childhood education, including being an ECE classroom teacher, being a director of an early learning center, working at community agencies, and instructing part-time until finding a home as an ECE program coordinator and a full-time faculty here at Mott College, where she recently retired. Becky is admired for the robust relationships she developed with future early childhood educators and the partnerships she cultivated within the communities where students and children live. She is an inspiring and supportive mentor who always takes students' well-being into thought when making decisions. Becky's contributions within the ECE field extends beyond her professional activities, including serving as past president and treasurer for the Michigan chapter of AEYC, and as a presenter for local, state, and national early childhood conferences. Also, she is a Michigan ACES officer and a member on statewide committees. Becky.
Thank you. Thank you to the board and Dr. Beverly for recognizing this achievement. I want to say thank you for all the support that my administrators have given me over the 20 years I've been here at Mott. You've allowed me to be an out-of-the-box thinker, an innovator. I get really emotional. Enabling our ECE Associate Degree Program to become one of the best in the state and the recipient of national accreditation for the past 14 years. As a postscript, I want to thank you for rehiring me after my disastrous decision to retire last June.
Thank you.
And now we'll have Rebecca Marks, who will welcome our new employees.
All right, good evening. We have 3 people to introduce tonight, and the first one is Joshua Justice. Joshua, can you come up? Joshua Justice is a new arts support specialist. He's a Mott graduate who continued his studies at U of M Flint. He continues to create, producing his award-winning photography work while working in arts administration and marketing. He has worked at Whiting Auditorium as a marketing assistant and most recently managed the social media for Signorama. Welcome, Joshua.
Thank you.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the board?
It's nice to meet you all. Thank you, and I hope to do a good job for you guys. Thank you.
Welcome. Next is Chandra Waisoon. Chandra is the new administrative assistant in Health and Human Services. She comes to us from ATA National Title Group, where she was a senior escrow processor. She also has previous experience as a mortgage loan officer and medical transcriptionist. She is a former Mott student and is so excited to now be an employee. She has 3 kids and 2 grandkids who keep her busy, and additionally, she loves to golf and bake and is well known for her chocolate chip cookies. Welcome. Anything you'd like to say to the board?
Thank you for the opportunity to work for Mott.
And our third new hire is Tracy Denham Holland. Tracy. Tracy grew up in Chicago, and she is a proud parent of Andrew Jr., who is a current Mott student, Ashley, a senior at Hampton University, Anthony, an Army soldier and current graduate student of Northwestern, and Nona, her grandma, as a grandma, To Miss Autumn Dior Owens. Her hobbies are writing, music, playing the piano, traveling, and interior design. Tracy mostly recently worked at Mott in the president's office and the foundation office as a temporary. And she worked for 18 years as an administrative assistant for the vice president for administrative services at Hampton University in Virginia, where she supported the Student Affairs Division in taking many projects to support students at Hampton University. She will be supporting a division here in administrative work. Welcome, Tracy. Is there anything you'd like to say to the board?
I would like to thank you all for giving me this wonderful opportunity and to continue to be part of the Mott Community College family.
That's all.
And Mr. Chair, that concludes this portion of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Are the lobbyists present to give the board a report from Lansing this evening?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Frank Foster, if you can hear me.
We
Yes,
can hear
we
you.
can. Thank you.
And our managing partner, Becky Beckler, is on too. I think you can see and hear her as well.
Evening.
I can see myself bigger now. Does that mean I'm up? I'm not hearing.
Please,
Chair-
Frank,
Mr.
go
Chair.
ahead. Frank, please
Oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Beverly. Again, Frank Foster here in Lansing, in our office at PAA, and Becky Beckler, our managing partner. Also, Tyrone Sanders is on the Mott Community College contract with us. Pleasure to be here with you virtually and always in person when we can be. So from Lansing, the update is mostly budgetary and a bit on capital outlay, and obviously happy to make this a conversation too. But if you don't mind, we'd probably give you a quick update on the budget, as that's probably first and foremost for most community colleges and higher ed's mind. So some of the committees from higher ed, the House released their budget last week. The Senate, we intend to do similar this week. And then the revenue outlooks for the state and for CCs look good. We have been focused primarily for Mott on capital outlay for the Prawl Center, doing a lot of work to that end. Pleased that Dr. Beverly and Dale and the students' names escaping me now could come and testify and be one of the first people in front of Joint Capital Outlay to talk about that Prawl Center project. Did a very good job, might I add, and we feel good about the Prawl Center project in Lansing. We feel good about the budget this year. The state seems to be robust, healthy, but we never take anything for granted, so we'll be monitoring that for Mott as well. But really that big ticket item remains the Prawl project. So I don't know, Becky, if you had much to add on to that end.
No, just a little bit about the budget. So as Frank indicated, subcommittees are passing out their budgets. It's lower than the governor's recommendation. However, we shouldn't take too much time or attention on that because it will be adjusted when the state does their revenue estimating conference in mid-May, and then they will readjust the budget. So this is just really moving the process forward, and there's still quite a bit of time to go all of May before the budget will be completed. The goal is to get it done end of May, 1st of June. So we're kind of starting the movement process, if you will, this week.
Are there any questions for the lobbyists?
Trustees, do you have any questions? No questions? Thank you very much for your report. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Madam President, do we have any speakers, special presentation speakers this evening?
We do. I would like to have Mr. James Johnson, who is the representative for Region 5 Board of Directors for the Michigan Association of School Boards. I think he was just recently elected, and he's going to talk about his service.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Madam President, Sir Chair, Board of Mott Community College. My name is James Johnson. I am the Region 5 MASB, which is Michigan Association of School Boards representative. I was just reelected 2 months ago to continue in my seat. I am also serving as the Vice President for the state of Michigan. I am Region 5, which consists of Genesee County, Huron County, Lapeer County, Sanilac County, St. Clair, and Tuscola County. And I act as a liaison through way of Carmen Ainsworth, which is in Flint. And just want to give you a brief update pertaining to the MASB. Our mission is to provide high-quality educational leadership services to all of Michigan Boards of Education and to advocate for equitable and acceptable public education for all students. And that is our goal, basically, is to help provide services and fulfill assignments or tasks for regional boards, also for community colleges as well. And one of our big things is the advocacy programs that we have, where we go out and we have lobbyists that go out, same as the presentation was, go out and keep update what's going on in Lansing. We also provide to boards self-assessments. We have a yearly delegate assembly where our members get an opportunity to express their concerns pertaining to policies and our processes. And that takes place usually at the beginning of November or the end of October. We also have a governance board as well. And if I gave you a handout, I want to apologize for not sending it digitally. I will make sure that you'll get that later so everyone can go forth. And we also provide monthly news to our board members. We provide one-day events, and also we do policy services. If we use a variety of services to help boards to set their policies and their goals up, and we provide that information. We provide, also, if you notice on your document that you're looking at the bottom of those, they're very small, so once again, I apologize for that. They have URLs, so if you need further instructions, you can click on the URL or the link, and it will provide information for you. Also, we do provide video servicing. They help design websites. And if you look on the page that has the multicolors on it, shows you that they also provide superintendent searches. They also help you with labor relations and legal compliance training. Also, if your board needs a strategic plan in place, they'll help you to do that. They help you facilitate superintendent evaluations. You know, the state just changed the way we do it, so a lot of boards are pretty much up in arms on that. And it's also teach you how to do that. And they teach out of district and in-district workshops. So if you want a workshop that's done through the MASB, you could call them and they will come. On your pamphlet that I passed out is a card by a young man named Jay Bennett. He's the one that you'll be facilitating that through. And one of the things we have also, we have a lot of classes that our board members can attend and also learn the purpose of a board member, the purpose of a board, the purpose of a superintendent, and their role as a board member. And one of the motivating, or I would say one of the carrots that we have to get them engaged is they're provided with 7 individual award levels. It starts from basically being CBA certified, which means you've taken all of the 100 level courses. And just in case your board is interested, the state also provides 100% reimbursement for the 100 level courses that any board would take. They have the certified level, there's an award of merit, there's an award of distinction, there's a master level, there's a master diamond level, there's a master platinum, and the cream of the crop award out of this, it's called a President's Award, and in the state of Michigan, there's only 145 individuals that have that award. It takes some time, it takes a lot of training to receive that. award, so you have to be committed to your training to receive that. Also, they provide data analysis and also advocacy skills too. They offer 2 awards for that. And your boards itself can also take part in gaining an award. If all of your members are certified at a certain level, you'll also receive that award as a whole board. And not just 100 level courses, they also provide level 200 and level 300 courses as well, which is pretty in-depth. It gets into superintendent relationships, board operating procedures and things like that. One of the ones also, like our Open Meeting Act class, which is, we have a parliamentarian, we also have legal services that we also can provide if there's any questions. The video service, there's a page that it provides you the video service, there's the pricing. As a member, as a local board, there's a small fee for that. And then there's additional services that you can get, whether you're a school district, an association, or a commercial contract. So it's not just restricted or limited to schools. And one of the things we have, and I stated earlier, is make your voice be heard. We have News from the Capitol. It's a free mail subscription that you can pretty much sign up for, and you will get bi-weekly updates on what's going on in the Capitol. And basically, there are probably 2 or 3 minute reads. There's probably a few videos that will be connected with that. And if you look on the last page, it says raise your voice, shows the House and the Senate. It basically provides education, labor relations, tax policies, and then you have the appropriations, K through 12. It also covers community colleges as well. And it also helps you to link up with your local legislators, whomever they may be. There's phone numbers, there's emails. When there's a hot topic that needs to be addressed, they'll send it out and ask you to contact your legislator. And I would say 8.5 out of 10 times your legislator will respond, whether him or his aide will respond to you. Do anyone have any questions on that before I go on to the next page?
Trustees, does anyone have a question? Please continue, James.
Thank you. And the last page is actually the board governance standards. Basically, it's a template that as you can go through, we sent this out to all of the boards in Michigan, and they were able to modify this template and adopt it as a whole board. Basically, it tells you the purpose of the board, how the board standards should, basically how a board should operate. It goes from an individual board member to the whole board, to the board as a whole, and it's something you can modify and adopt, and that's what that second pamphlet is for. Like I say, I'm pretty much done here, but there's a lot of services that can be provided to as a new board member. A lot of times you have new board members that may feel that, I have a degree in this or I have a degree in that. I don't need training, but public service board members is totally different from your professional. So it gives you the basic training that you'll need to function well. Even if you don't agree, you can learn to work on the things that you do agree upon. And that's what the governance standards also provide for you. And the training that MASB provides, I believe, is beneficial for everyone.
Thank you, James. Do any other trustees have any questions now for him?
I'd like to say something, yes. I just wanted to let you know that my son, he took the classes with the MASB, and he encouraged me to do the same. So for the past 2 months now, I've taken a few classes, and I've learned a lot, and my goal is to get certified as well.
That's great. That's great.
It's pretty cool.
That's great.
Are there any other questions? James, thank you for taking the time to come this evening to speak to us. Congratulations on your election. We look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you once again. God bless everyone.
We'll now have Jessica Bixel, our coordinator for Scholars Programs, to talk about the Trustee Scholars Program.
Thank you so much for inviting me to speak about the Trustee Scholars Leadership Award. So the Trustees Leadership Scholarship Award has been awarded by Mott since 1977. And we award this scholarship, which has the potential to cover 62 credits at Mott, so the total of an associate's degree, to one student, one high-achieving student at each high school in the Genesee County District. Our application is currently online. The deadline is May 15th. And about this time last year, we had 32 applicants. This year, I'm happy to say we have reached the 51 mark, and hopefully we will continue to receive a lot more. In addition to the scholarship, trustee leadership scholars are entered directly into our honors program. They receive specialized faculty advising, and they get to participate in a preparatory event right before classes start that allow them to meet the Board of Trustees, hear from our president, Dr. B, and learn from previous trustees, scholars, and students in the Honors College. So I understand there are questions about our selection process, so I wanted to outline for you that our application is virtual. It's through a Google form. In particular, there are 3 short answer responses that we ask students to write on, outlining their leadership, their academics, and their service to community. Those applications are reviewed by a selection committee. We are 6 strong this year of MCC faculty and staff, and the applications are ranked for our first place and our alternate, and both of those students are invited to the Honors College. Scholars Night is the event I mentioned that prepares our trustees scholars to join us in the fall. It is a dinner reception with a panel of students. They hear from our president, they get to sit with all of you and learn from you, and they are also given a lot of information and inspiration from our previous trustee scholars and honors students. My contact information is on the slide. If you have additional questions or you want to learn more, last Saturday I was on Dr. B's radio show and we did speak extensively about the Trustees Scholars Leadership Award, so I encourage you to go to the website and listen to that. As well, there is a lot of information online, and of course you're welcome to reach out to me.
Trustees, are there any questions? Thank you very much for coming in and speaking to us.
Thank you.
Madam President?
We now have our Chief Technology Officer, Cheryl Shelton, who will be speaking about the quarterly update and about TikTok.
Good evening, trustees. Go ahead and get started here. As Dr. Beverly said, I'm here to give our quarterly update on what we've been doing in ITS for the last 3 months. We always start with our service tickets, which have, you can see sort of the percentages of things we've gotten done. The tickets have been actually down a little bit compared to the last quarter. One of the things we've noticed is that we're having a hard time with people submitting email tickets not letting us know when they're going to be in their office, so it makes it difficult to attend to them in a timely manner, so we're going to address that in our monthly tech tip this month. Okay. And our media services completed 14 video projects this year, or this quarter, excuse me. So they're pretty much staying on pace even as we were through the pandemic. This is going to go. It's not going. Thank you. So some of the things we have going in process on our network services, continued rollout of our wireless that was approved last year, and the implementation of our new firewall, which was also approved last fall. Installation of new cameras at the entrance gates. We put in a really cool, we think it's cool, license plate reader. So we tested it out on my car, and it found my car every time I drove by. And our migration to eFax service. Is going to go? It just beeps. Can you get it, or this isn't working? Okay, so in computing support services, we've upgraded to a product called Google Education Plus. As you know, we use the Google suite of products on our campus. Well, the Google Education Plus allows us to do a little bit more creative things with our email services. It's going to tie into some security things that we want to implement, so it was a good purchase for us. Plus, it gives us more storage space of our Google documents and email files, et cetera. We're also doing, has started our software inventory committee. That is part of our security policy to inventory all the software that we have on campus. And I'll kind of explain why in my next presentation. So we also have to inventory all of our cloud-hosted software. So it's quite an endeavor. When we started with the list initially, it had over 2,000 products on it. So it's a lot of work to try to weed that down and make sure they're all currently being used. And what they also have to do is with those software products is we have to make sure that they have certifications of security so that when they're on our network, we know they're not going to wreak any havoc. We're also doing a hardware inventory. That's part of our information security policy as well. And we've been helping HR to keep their efforts going on a paperless office and increase security measures. They have some things they wanted to implement and needed our help, so we've been working through those issues. Next slide. Why is this not working? Thank you. So in media services, we are putting in additional speakers for our emergency notification system. When we had our active assailant drill last month, we still found some, I guess we'll call dead spots, where people cannot hear. So we want to rectify that and make sure that if there ever is a substantial emergency on campus, that everyone can get the notifications that are sent out by our public safety. We're also still working on our info channel replacements, a rather large project. Those are the monitors that you see in the hallways, and doing a lot of work for the centennial and commencement preparations. They're two really big events that are going to be happening on our campus, and they take a lot of teamwork. Next slide, please. So enterprise services always continues to be our busiest area. Jason Wilson and his team keep us very, very busy. So CRM Recruit project for admissions. We had a homemade, homegrown admissions application, and we want to change that to a better product that integrates with our ERP system, which is our DataTel colleague system. And we've been implementing Blackbaud for the foundation. That's been going on for a while, and we're just about getting to where we're wrapping that up. We're also doing some student self-service things for admissions as well to help students help themselves. And working on the dental program application, we last year, or maybe 18 months ago, worked on a nursing application, which was highly successful and really helped the faculty in that area to process applications for nursing students. And so now we're looking to do the same for dental. Web pages for the Department of Corrections and Summer Academy Acceleration. A lot of times we get these notices without a lot of turnaround time, and so we have to address them rather quickly in order to meet, most times it's grant specifications and deadlines. We're also working on the HRIS and payroll solution evaluations and forms for marketing requests and a cellular device request. We have a form system that we have in-house, which is, it's really nice, it's very powerful. And so slowly we're working through things that we can automate request forms for, so it's been very nice. Next slide. Excuse me, information security updates. We just had a comprehensive security report from our VCSO, which is our Virtual Chief Information Security Officer, if you remember Mohan, who used to be presenting. That just happened, and so hopefully that report is going to come to you soon. It was very positive. We still have work to do. We'll always have work to do, but it was really nice to see the work that we have done has met some of the industry standards. I should say most of them. So most of the other things are things that aren't as critical, but they are important, so we are going to be working on those. We've updated our cybersecurity training modules. We do an annual cybersecurity training that some of the modules in that have retired, and we try to keep those refreshed and up to date. And integrating a phishing button within Gmail, that is coming. We want to be able to help our users when they see phishing to go ahead and report it right away. A lot of times we've scared them to death, trust me. They're very terrified of every what do you call it, phishing and scam email that comes through, but they want to call us every time and tell us, and we want them to have the ability to just report it with the click of a button. continue to work on implementing the requirements for the information security policy. It's a very comprehensive and large document, and it will take a very long time to finish. I don't know if I can ever say we will be finished, because as soon as you finish something, you have to refresh it. So we are working on that diligently. And this week, our penetration testing started. It's something I think I told you about before, where we have an external service. It's part of our security requirements to try to poke into our network and see what they can do. And then they report it back to us if there's any deficiencies. So that is happening right now, this week. And I believe that is it for the quarterly report.
Trustees, does anyone have any questions? I have a question.
Sure.
On one of the first slides, it said that there were 498 service tickets, and you completed 506. That's amazing.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, some were from,
Previous
if you
months?
turn one in on, February 28th and we complete it on March 1st, the numbers don't match up exactly.
Okay, thank you very much. Madam President?
Okay, I'll just keep going. So our college guidelines for TikTok. The way I want to start this is sort of giving you an overview of how our network is configured, because that'll make sense for a lot of the things that I have already told you and will tell you in the future. So as you can see, when you come in from the internet, everything goes to our firewall. And the way we have our network configured is in zones. So there are a guest zone for our guest wireless, our Active Directory zone, that's where like you put all your login information. It sort of keeps a list of all your login information. The utility zone, which is where our facilities folks have a lot of their stuff. Our campus zone, which is where we have our VDI, our virtual desktop. And our server zone, which is where we have our DataTel colleague. These are just, this is sort of a light version of this. It's a lot more complex and intense than this. But when we decide to block something, it depends on how we're going to do it, on the severity of things. But for example, with TikTok, everything you see in the red zone, it is blocked at the firewall. Now, the way this zone system works, you can't just go from the campus zone to the utility zone. You have to go through the firewall. There's a series of rules that determine how you can flow through these zones. Well, the way the zones work, some are configured with tighter security than other ones, depending on what's going through. So even like me, I can't get to the server zone. I'm not powerful enough. Most of our staff are not. So we use the firewall to really gauge the traffic. And the reason I bring that up, when you move from the internet to any of the zones, that is called northwest traffic. When you move between zones, that is called east-west traffic. So the way we configured this is to try to make sure that no one can move east-west without going through the firewall, because that's how bad things happen. That's how systems get compromised, is they come in from the north and then they're able to go east-west. We don't want that to happen anymore. So for all the things that we have on our block list, which is included with TikTok, they cannot get to any of those zones. And that's sort of how we configure this. I hope that sort of makes sense, but if you want to go ahead to the next slide. So with our information security policy, it talks about sort of what I said before. This job is never ending. We're continuously assessing everything every day. New things come out all the time. People update their software and it's got a vulnerability. There's things we have to assess every single day. I'm probably being told every week by my staff there's some kind of vulnerability out there we need to keep our eye on. So this job is never ending. Next slide, please. So, like I said, continuous vulnerability management and stress. Part of what we do, too, is in our cybersecurity training. We stress to people, we try to teach people how to protect themselves and protect our institution. So, we try to educate, and between the policies we set in place and educating our community, we're hoping that will keep us safe from the bad guys. So I think that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions before Cheryl leaves? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam President?
We'll now have AVP Dale Wayhill to give his quarterly report and to talk about the priorities.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Chair, trustees. Thank you, Dr. Beverly. So the document that you see up on the screen is the first page of a two-page quarterly report for the Office of Institutional Advancement. This page talks about the funds that we've been raising. Remember that when you think about the Office of IA, half of what we do is related to generating additional resources through dollars for the college. The other half of what we do is connected to telling the story of the college through marketing and communication. So this page is about fund development. You know that we have 6 different strategic funding priorities. Those are outlined in the bottom left of this page. So we have diversity, equity, and inclusion as one, student success and support, employee success and support, closing the achievement gap, or what we like to call CTAG, then the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center, and the Centennial Scholars Fund. All of those together, cumulative, even though this is a quarterly report, I give you cumulative data from July 1, so it's fiscal year. All of those strategic funding priorities, our office has generated just over $1.7 million total. All other giving through our foundation for Mott Community College, which is part of our office, $434,477.38. That is over and above that first 1.7 million figure. So people and organizations and grant makers don't necessarily want to give to one of our strategic funding priorities. We always talk about those first, but they may want to give to a scholarship fund that they want to start in the name of someone in their family. That would be outside of these. That falls into that 477 number. And then the grants function of institutional advancement, we have grant writers, grant development specialists. Over and above the strategic funding priorities, they've raised $1.924 million. So the grand total cumulative for the fiscal year at the end of March is just over $4 million through institutional advancement. And then the couple highlights that we had a major gift to the foundation for Mott Community College for respiratory therapy program of $10,000. And then the one below that is a grant that we received from the Flint and Genesee Education and Talent Division under the Flint and Genesee Group, AKA the Chamber, for those of us that can't remember all their brand elements. But there's a lot of words there, but in short, we received a grant to hire, I think, 30 different high school age students to work here at the college. So they're going to be here over the summer of 2023, working in offices, working in the Crowdy Center. I think some are going to be at Mr. Matthews' area over in the Workforce Division, North Saginaw Street. So they'll be sprinkled throughout our facilities, learning what it is like to work in an office in a professional setting. The grant dollars help us support them, and they get paid for their work. So the next page, and there's a picture there in the bottom right of some of SYI students from last year's program here at the college. Next page is our marketing and communication slide. So again, this is about telling our story to the community and audiences, in particular, trying to help support enrollment, activities coming out of student services. We try to get people to what we call the top of the funnel. And so they get to the top of the funnel through our advertising and marketing. And then others at the college grab a hold of them and try to get them in here to learn. And so I'll start with some of the tactics. So the bottom left, that gold area is all of our paid media. So we have everything from billboards to digital radio, regular radio. We've got print. If you look at the East Village Magazine, the View newspapers, My City Magazine, other print publications, you'll find ads from the college. Those are through our office. We've got digital video up. We've got paid search so that when a student or a potential student goes to the internet, types in community college, Mott comes up first for them. Or if they type in culinary arts or food preparation, we hope that our culinary program will come up. So we purchase those words. We're on paid social, and then we do paid text texting and paid emails. That middle column, earned media, is what you could also call it free media. So the staff inside of institutional advancement, we're constantly sponsoring events. The trustees know about the calendar that we put out there so that you can attend some of these. Not only is it good to support these organizations and their work in the community, it's also good to have representation from the college and show the flag, if you will. We put out press releases, so it's hard for me to read that figure, but it looks like 59 maybe. Those 59 press releases generate media hits. So when we issue those, TV stations, radio stations, newspaper outlets will pick up on them and then run the stories. And then we've got internal social media, which again is not funded through paid marketing through our outside agency of record, but rather driven by internal staff. We also have in the College and Info Center column, we operate the College Information Center. They get tens of thousands of calls every year from current students, potential students, and everyone else under the sun with questions and needing to be triaged to different parts of the college community. And so you can see that we've got quite a few calls to date for the fiscal year. And then in the bottom right-hand column, our office is also charged with pushing forward on the centennial. So all things centennial, 99% of them are coming through the Office of Institutional Advancement with the help of a 50-person committee. This particular piece that we're highlighting is the lecture and concert series. So we started this back in January. Paul Rizicki gave a lecture about the 100 years of Mott history, and we did that at Totem Bookstore, which is over by the White Horse on Court Street. The first concert was music from the first 25 years of Mott's history, so 1923 to 1948, done by alumni from the college. And then we have our next concert this coming Sunday in the Mott Memorial Building Auditorium. That's going to be at 4 p.m., and that will be Pat Cronley, Jazz on Wheels, musical selections from the second 25 years of Mott's history, so 1948 to 1973. Excuse me, should have brought some water up here. So that completes, Mr. Chair, the quarterly report for the Office of Institutional Advancement.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Before you go on, trustees, I want to remind you, Sunday, 4 p.m., Mott Memorial Building. It's cool.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the plug. The next presentation, some of you saw last week in committee. I was asked to prepare a document, presentation that talks about how we create the legislative priorities and how we deliver them to different audiences. So we've been doing this, creating a list of Mott Community College's legislative and public policy priorities since 2015. One thing that we always take into consideration are what I like to call the foundational documents for the college that have been adopted by the trustees over a lengthy period of time. So for example, we always look at the college's mission statement. There's various policies the trustees have adopted many times over, our institutional priorities, the Mott Strong Strategic Plan, now in its second iteration, and then the college's master plan from August of 2021. All of those are documents that the board has adopted over the years that we look to as we create things here at the college, including the legislative priorities. Then we also have national partners, American Association of Community Colleges, and then ACCT. They put out lists of lobbying and legislative priorities that they want colleges to advocate for locally and federally. Next slide. And so, given all of that, we meet as an executive cabinet with Dr. Beverly every January, February, actually probably starting in December, back up, December, January, and we talk about what were last year's legislative priorities, what's on the docket for the coming year, what's going on in our environment, what programs has the state developed or the federal government, has there been a change in administration nationally or at the state level, you know, what are some of our opportunities. So we then put down on paper in executive cabinet what we're going to do. A lot of the priorities that are current as of 2023 are carryovers. So you'll see, for example, the Pearl College Center has been on our list of priorities since 2020. The pandemic caused us to take a look at technology and internet access, so that's been with us for probably 3 or 4 years as well. And so we announced these priorities publicly for the first time in February of every year at a legislative briefing. The legislative briefing is kind of co-hosted by my area and the president's office. Do it here on site, at least post-pandemic, we're back to being on site. And the trustees are all invited to come to that, Mott's EC, and then we have state representatives, state senators, their staff, usually representatives from Congressman Kildee, Senator Stabenow, and Senator Peters, all in the same room, all to hear from Dr. Beverly about what the priorities are that have come out of this process. We also have students there to talk about their success stories at the college, and faculty who also talk about their success stories. And then the priorities are shared in other ways as well. So I believe some of you went to Washington, D.C. for ACCT back in February maybe. You took the sheet, which was part of these, because some of these are state level, so it doesn't make sense to take the whole thing to Washington, but you had the federal level priorities that ACCT was asking us to promote. But a couple weeks ago, delegation from Mott went to the state capitol for Community College Day, took the full legislative priorities there for that, and students, and I don't know that any trustees were there, although they were invited. Students, staff circulated among our legislators and shared the priorities. So next slide, 3 categories for this year's priorities, and this is true of last year as well, these 3 fundamental buckets. College infrastructure, technology, and equipment is 1. Funding and initiatives to create a college-going culture is number 2. And then lastly, federal level issues and concerns. All right, the first priority under college infrastructure, technology, and equipment bucket is the Prowl Innovation Center. As I mentioned, this has been a priority for 4 years now. Some of the references where we can find either an explicit reference to the Prowl project or things, philosophies that support it, you've got there in terms of the college's master plan and the page numbers. We also find it in other foundational documents like our strategic goals and the strategic plan. So the Prowl College Center, 50-plus-year-old facility, built in 1971, dedicated in honor of Murray Prowl, who was a graduate in 1932, and then became a faculty member and a longtime administrator, one of the first female, if not the first female administrators at Mott. The fundamental goal here is to transform the building into a state-of-the-art higher ed building, which includes a new teaching and learning area, student services spaces, and the ability for students to explore careers in new ways. All right, so Prowl Innovation Center, floor by floor. The upper floor, second floor, is what we're going to call the MCC Cyber and Technology Hub. Our cybersecurity program with Professor Rob Bernard will be over there. There will be examples of artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, different spaces, way beyond what we currently have here at MCC, more akin to what they might have at, say, Kettering. MCC Virtual Enrollment Hub, main floor. We have a lot of old spaces and old systems that cause students to sometimes, and potential students to sometimes get lost in terms of financial aid here, bookstore over here, counseling and advising over here, and they're not all necessarily physically optimally located. So that's going to be a piece of the main floor, along with new technology that allows students to step right in, ask questions, and get their answers. And we will be using things like holograms on that floor to streamline communications and make it more consistent than it is now. And lastly, the lower level, MCC Future Careers Hub. This is going to be a space where students can go in, practice interviewing with, again, holograms and artificial intelligence, get feedback on their interviews. They're going to be able to do real interviews in person with potential employers, also virtual interviews with employers who may not even be in Michigan, but want to interview that particular student for a position. There's also going to be a lot of collaboration in that space with business owners coming in for career expos around certain career categories, and a lot of entrepreneurs coming in just to talk about how they do their work and how our students can become more entrepreneurial. So that's the lower level. Next slide, please. Let's talk about funding for a moment. So the total project cost, $32.5 million. Let me just say that the original estimate when we started this priority 4 years ago was $25 million. That would have been February of 2020. As we all know, costs have risen since then. And so what you'll see is that it's gone to $32.5 million. We did get a grant through the Office of Institutional Advancement, working in partnership with many others, including Dr. Beverly, a major grant from the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, probably the largest one they've ever given to the college, in the amount of $12.5 million. We've had that for a couple years. The discussion started even before then. It's $12.5 because it represents what was at that time half of the estimated cost of the project. Now the total cost is larger, but we do have the $12.5 million in hand from CS Mott. Those funds are restricted for the Prawl project. They cannot be used for other activities here at the college. The second item where we have some funding is $650,000 from through Senator Gary Peters. It was part of the federal budget that passed at the end of December 2022. This is also based on a proposal, what is called a congressionally directed spending request, colloquially known as an earmark. That we put in last spring through the Office of Institutional Advancement, and we were granted the $650,000. Again, that's dedicated, or restricted, I should say, to the Prawl project. Senator Peters was here in January and was on tour of the Prawl Center to announce the funding. Requested funds, the first one on here, there's one that is invisible, but it's in my head. So the first one is, we have a request of $16.25 million into the State of Michigan Joint Capital Outlay Subcommittee. You heard Frank Foster and Becky Beckler mention that Dr. Beverly was there a couple weeks ago to provide testimony. That was, in essence, a request for this funding, although they received their request in a different way. But they did ask her in particular to come. They don't ask every president to come. The one that's missing, we were invited by Senator Stabenow probably a month and a half to 2 months ago to submit a second earmark request. So we got the one through Peter's office, but she asked us if we had something we wanted to put in for and recommended the Prawl project. So reached out to us, and I submitted, can't remember the exact dates, probably a month and a half ago, $16.25 million to try to get the real half of what it's going to cost. Although we're also asking for the state for that amount. Obviously, if we get both, we can only use probably the one, but it's always good to have multiple opportunities. And that was at her request to submit it. The next item, so that was Prawl. The next item under college infrastructure, technology, and equipment is bridging the digital divide for students, faculty, staff. This is grounded in parts of the strategic plan. We found, especially during the pandemic, that students and faculty and staff had irregular usage of the internet. Their equipment needs were varied. They all didn't have the same kinds of things, so that's an equity issue. It's also a learning issue, and it's also a work issue. And so the college stepped forward with some of our federal dollars. You can see there, since the beginning of 2020, 324 Chromebooks, 5 Mac Minis to students who needed it. And then we also have 392 Chromebooks, 22 MacBooks, 64 Windows units to faculty and staff. There are stories of students who sit in the parking lot of Starbucks after 10 p.m. because it's closed, but they need internet access because they've got assignments due. And so this is all about trying to get the state and federal government to do more for college students and college employees so that we can make them successful. So that's our ask on this. We're on to the second bucket, I believe, funding and initiatives to create a college-going culture. The Community College Formula Review Task Force. The formula for funding community colleges from the state level has been more or less the same for a number of decades. It lacks equity, it lacks some transparency, it favors some colleges over others, it doesn't take in local circumstances and student population needs into consideration. So the legislature, as part of Public Act 144 of 2022, created this task force. Dr. Beverly was one of the 9 members for the whole state. So she was a leader on this. They evaluated the formula, and they're recommending through the governor's office increased stability in funding, improved simplicity in funding, and then increased equity in funding for community colleges. That recommendation was submitted in December of last year. And this really is based on a lot of what we do around our #1 institutional priority, trying to achieve equity, especially for community college students in our community who are very, very challenged. Next slide. There's a program at the state level called Michigan Reconnect. This is aimed at getting community college credits and degrees and other credentials to students who are 25 years and up who do not currently have a college credential. There's tuition and there's support for other things like books. The current framework is 25 and up. There is a proposal to reduce the age level to the age of 21, so that people who are 21 and up in Michigan who do not have a college credential can obtain one through Michigan Reconnect. If you've heard the term 60 by 30, that's how the governor and the legislature are describing this particular initiative. It's the idea that 60% of Michigan's adult population will have some form of college credential, not even necessarily a degree, but maybe a certificate or some sort of other credential by the year 2030. Next slide. On to the federal level. So we took a lot of this from ACCT, so the trustees that went to Washington will recognize it quite a bit. The first item under this bucket is high-quality childcare. And so we've been getting, for a number of years now, something called C-Campus, which is Childcare Access Meets Parents in School. This is for college students who have little ones who qualify economically, and they can get their 6-month to 5-year-olds over into the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center, into the early childhood portion of that building, essentially free of charge. There might be a little bit of cost to them, which is sometimes covered by the remainder of their Pell. We have found that student parents who can get their little ones in there much more likely to persist at the college and achieve a credential at the college and complete than a general student who doesn't have this kind of support. And so this is all about asking the federal government to maintain C-Campus and even do other things for us. There's also some possibility at the state level with the new budget that there might be child care dollars from the state. And you can see the policies of the board that talk about this a little bit. Next slide. Strengthen the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. A lot of this funding goes through our Workforce and Economic Development Division. We're asking to have that community colleges be part of the leadership apparatus for workforce development policy through the feds, greater training opportunities, and that they should prioritize credential attainment and streamline reporting requirements. And this relates to the 6th institutional priority, but also goals 9 and 10 of the strategic plan, which are focused on workforce. Next slide. Help with accreditors. I think everyone knows that we've got a variety of accreditations that colleges are under. We're asking for help from the U.S. Department of Education with regional accreditors to provide more guidance and assistance with getting workforce development courses approved to receive credit. There is some challenge here, and we feel that regional accreditors hold the keys, asking for our federal officials to help us communicate with them. Next slide. Fund key education and workforce programs that support student access and success. We recommend boosting the Pell Maximum Award. This is federal support for tuition at minimum by an inflationary adjustment. Long-term goal to double the Pell from the 2021-22 award year. And then this aligns with a bunch of things. So talk a lot about access in our mission statement. Board policies talk about access as well as some of these other things. And this provides access to low-income students. And probably 43% of our students are Pell eligible, which is a significant number. Next slide. All right, support workforce Pell Grants for students in short-term programs. Right now, if you're attending a workforce program that's non-credit, you have to go through it, must be 2/3 of a year in order to be eligible for Pell. What we're asking is there be more flexibility to this so that if it's less than 2 years of a year, 2/3 of a year, that there would be federal Pell dollars to support the students in their tuition. And I think there's maybe one more. So the last one under bucket 3, MCC, legislative priorities, invest in basic needs supports for students. I think you know that we have many, many challenged students, And one of the reasons why we established the Lenore Crowdy Family Life Center, not one of the reasons, the reason, is to provide sort of these supports so that they can get through college without something throwing them off. And so this is really about that. So MCC supports policies that address the needs of students by providing greater access to basic needs. We have a food pantry over there, we've got the early childhood, we've got a clothing closet, we've got clinicians, mental health services, and a variety of things. In addition to that, bus passes, referrals to agencies in the community for students who might be homeless or housing insecure. There's a lot that the federal government can do to help us with that. So that completes that presentation, Mr. Chair.
Trustees, are there any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that concludes the special presentations.
Thank you, Madam President. Secretary Board Coordinator Jordan, do we have any communications?
There are no communications.
Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public this evening?
We do. We have 2 public comments that want to be read into the record.
Before you read them, I'm required to read. All citizens who wish to address the board or who wish to communicate with the board in writing shall identify themselves and or the group they represent, if any. They must also state their reason for addressing the board. Citizens addressing the board shall be limited to 5 minutes in making their remarks, unless the time is increased or decreased by consent of the board. A brief supporting the remarks made by the citizens may be submitted to the board for its consideration. The board may limit the number of persons wishing to address the board on the same subject to 3. Would you please bring them forward now that you are going to read?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The first one is from Connie Green from Richfield Township, and the subject is support of the newly elected board. Dear board members, by now you know I watch all the meetings on live stream and have been very active in all happenings of Mott Community College throughout the years. I love this college and truly care about its future. I would like to ask the board some questions. Did the board attorney Amberly Brennan meet with students to attack the board? Did the college president tell concerned pastors to speak at board meetings against select board members? Is the college president and board attorney generating support against newly elected board members and on purpose? Does Amberly Brennan work just for Beverly Walker Graffia or the board? Does the Michigan Bar Association or owners of Collins and Blaha know what is going on at Mott? What is being said behind closed doors between the board attorney and the college president? Has the college president had her evaluation done? And if not, when will that take place? Is the board going to launch an investigation into Mott staffer Kim Owens, the Faculty Staff Association, American Association of Women, and Mott Community College chapter leader Angela Hood for using their position to work against this board? Did President Walker Graffia tell Kim Owens and Angela Hood to speak against the board? I would hope that if the staff is abusing their position, that the board would take action and clean this up. It is appalling to watch Mott's own staff take part in politics at the board level. The board is elected by the voters. We put all 7 of you in these positions, and with 4 of you, you can pass motions. This is policy and bylaws 101. To the newly elected board, stay strong and do not fall to the games being played against you. Just remember that they can intimidate you all they want, but it is we the people of Genesee, Lapeer, Livingston, and Oakland counties that you answer to, and we have your back. Mott needs to focus on education and training, not the agenda being pushed by Democratic Party. We are not fools, we know what is going on. If the college spent as nearly as much time promoting education and training as they do awards being won by the president or chief of staff, they would have the community more engaged. This has turned into let's keep my job and we are scared of change, then focusing on the fundamentals the college was built on, and it's starting to become clear. How about everyone work together and stops downplaying the change of the board? Whether people like it or not, we the voters have changed the makeup of the board for a reason. I find it rather interesting that the special meeting is called to scold Andy Everman over nonsense when all of this is going on. The board needs to exercise their own power with 4 votes to call a special meeting of their own. There are so many things to address, which prompts my question before you tonight. There is some positive in my comments. I also want to applaud the board for implementing the pledge of prayer back to the board meetings. It is time someone stands up for this country and brings the spirit of America back to Mott Community College. For those concerned about the pledge and prayer, do you know that the Flint and Burton City Council starts off with a pledge and prayer, as well as many other municipalities? The same goes for the Genesee County Board of Commissions. They start off with the pledge and have prayer. Mott is not the only one. Where's the outrage at those meetings? The bottom line is really simple. Majority of the Mott Community College District voters agree with the pledge and prayer. The distraction and running of the clock on this board needs to stop. The voters change, and we are counting on you to not fall under pressure. Mott Community College is changing, and the result of this ballot the result of that is the ballot box. Haters are going to hate, but the work needs to get done. I encourage the newly elected board to look beyond the noise coming from within and roll up your sleeves and get the job done. Last time I checked, 4 votes equals a majority.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Are there any other comments from the public?
We have one more. And it comes from Sarah Richter, Franklin Avenue, and the subject is prayer and pledge at board meetings. My child attends classes through the Mott Middle College program. We both feel that implementing a policy that requires the pledge and prayer to take place shows a clear disregard for students, staff, and community members who are not religious. Prayer at board meetings is unnecessary, inappropriate, and divisive. Board members as well as the public are free to pray privately or to worship on their own time in their own way. They do not need to worship at a time when they are gathered to address matters concerning a public college. Including prayer at board meetings needlessly alienates staff, students, and community members belonging to the nearly 1 in 3 Americans who now identify as religiously unaffiliated. In order to demonstrate the board's respect for the diverse range of religious and non-religious persons within the Mott Community College community, we urge the board to concentrate on college matters and leave religion to the private conscience of each individual by refraining from implementing an opening prayer practice at its meetings. And that concludes public comments.
That concludes them. Thank you very much. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of March 27th, 2023. Are there any corrections to the minutes? I would now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from March 27th, 2023. Yes, madam.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, you was not. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any other corrections? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye,
Aye.
and those opposed, nay. It passes, and just for the record, Mr. Reyes was not allowed to vote on this, and he recognized this because he was not in attendance at that meeting. So if you're wondering why that went on, that's why. Okay. Informational reports. The Finance Committee, Mr. Swanson.
Mr. Chair, we had a Finance Committee meeting last Wednesday, and I believe the minutes of that meeting are out in the hallway, if anybody wants to look at them.
Okay, thank you very much. Personnel Committee?
Same, we had met on April 19th at 4 o'clock, and if anybody would like a copy of the minutes, they're right in the lobby there at the table.
Thank you very much. Other reports? The MCCA Board of Directors report. Mr. Daly is our representative there. Is there anyone else that can give a report for him?
Would you like me to, Mr.
Madam
Chair?
President?
On April the 13th, we were 6 employees and 8 students represented the MCC at the Capitol for the MCCA College Day and Legislative Summit. The Legislative Summit is held by the legislative committee, who puts that together with the MCC staff annually. Throughout the day-long event in Lansing, the students spoke with elected officials from the State Senator John Cherry, State Senator Kevin Daly, Representative Phil Green, Representative David Martin, Representative Jasper Martis, Representative Cynthia Neely, Representative Brian Begall, and Representative Matt Byerling. They spoke with them to help promote the college's legislative priorities, but they also shared their personal stories and how MCC has positively impacted their futures. For those attending the summit, we also had a luncheon where the MCCA, or community colleges, was given a certificate of proclamation signed by Governor Whitmer and announcing that April 2023 is the Community College Month for the state of Michigan. As a part of that as well, we had administration and one of the state representatives to speak about how important community colleges play in building a strong foundation focused on student achievement, education, and community building. At the conclusion of the summit, we actually talked about the impact that the day had on the students, and really to help them to understand what they do when talking with the legislatures certainly helps community colleges get the resources that they need in order to bring hope and empowerment to other students across the state. The Legislative Committee was commended for a great legislative day. The Executive Committee also has voted on the faculty and the faculty and staff Member of the Year awards that will be given in July, and each one of you should have at your table an application if you would like to join one of the MCCA committees. That concludes the report.
Thank you very much. ACCT Board of Directors, Mr. Reyes.
Yes, for this year, I'm serving on the Governance and Bylaws Committee of ACCT. We meet virtually one or two times. We haven't met yet since our last meeting, which was in person in February, but we typically will meet virtually and then again at each of the conferences. In July 21st through the 23rd, the ACCT Board of Directors will have its annual retreat where we'll continue strategic planning for the ACCT. As Dr. Beverly said, the ACCT has really been pushing. April is Community College Month, and our next ACCT Congress will be held in October of this year. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Unfinished business. Dr. Beverly, could you speak to item 1.31, approval of the special meeting minutes of January 23rd, 2023?
Yes, I'm going to ask the Assistant Secretary to please speak to that item.
Thank you, Dr. Beverly. Trustees, as you recall, back in March 27th board meeting, we had a list of 5 unofficial meeting minutes that needed approval. We submitted 4 for approval that were signed by Secretary Wolcott and Chairman Everman. The one that's on unfinished business, item 1.31, is the approval of special meeting minutes of January 23, 2023. Reason being is that Trustee Couch requested that we postpone the signing or the approval of the minutes so that the board would consider including the verbatim minutes from a public comment made by an individual. However, after the meeting, there was a mistake made on which meeting minutes was the reconsideration for. As you see in 1.32 in the next for new business, you'll see the language that she wants to include. But as far as 1.31, more or less, in essence, this is just an approval of the unofficial minutes that have not been changed at all. If you have any questions, I would be able to answer them.
So therefore, we need to go and entertain a motion for 1.31 for the approval of the minutes for the special meeting of January 23rd, 2023. Is that correct?
That is correct. And to reiterate, there has been no change to the meeting minutes for this item, 1.31.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed by nay. The minutes for that meeting have been approved. Item number 1.32, reconsideration of approval of minutes of special organizational meeting of January 23rd, 2023.
So as you see on page 156 in the packet, that is the language that Trustee Couch wanted to include back in the March meeting. So if you see in bold, you'll see it starting on page 56, going into 157. She would like verbatim the language included that would touch on the public comment that has already been submitted. And just for clarification as well, these minutes have already been approved and signed by Secretary Wolcott and Chairman Everman. So they are approved. And like I said, Trustee Couch would like you to reconsider and be amending the language to include the bolded language.
Trustees, what is the wish of the board? Is there a motion to include this?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion from Trustee Wolcott. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. Discussion.
Yes.
Trustee Reyes.
Mr. Chair, I have a question regarding that which is in bold. It indicates that Trustee Couch requested the full transcript of Bishop Bernadelle Jefferson of Faith Deliverance Center Church public comment be amended as, and then in the comments that are quoted, it says, "Good evening, my name is Pastor Frederick L. Flowers." So I'm confused as to whose words these actually are.
Trustee Couch, would you like to address this?
It was Pastor Flowers.
Okay, then what we have here needs to be corrected if in fact it is reconsidered. And I am speaking against the motion to reconsider because the minutes, as we have done them from every meeting, public comments come to us. Not at every meeting, but we have public comments. When we do have public comments, whether they're read or whether they're spoken to us in person, they're not included in the minutes. The minutes of the meeting are supposed to be the actions of the board. Even the discussions that we have in deciding which actions we take, we don't offer the details. We offer who made the motion, who seconded the motion, there was discussion, and then the vote. So I just, as a matter of precedent, it has not been done that way, and I am leery of starting a precedent where we pick and choose public comments which we would include. In my view, we either include them all or we include none. And to date, we've included none, and we haven't had any real issue with that. So I am speaking against the motion to reconsider.
Thank you, Trustee Reyes. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, I will speak on the issue. After Trustee Couch submitted these and contacted me, there was a discussion that took place between our board attorney, myself, regarding this as well as Blaha, from Collins and Blaha. There was also a discussion that involved Dr. Beverly and Jordan, so that we all had an understanding of how this was done in the past. Mr. Reyes has laid this out as we have done this in the past. And there is a slippery slope once we go down this path to submit everything that's in the minutes. Now, Trustee Couch had a concern, which I understand fully. And I am agreeing with Mr. Reyes on this issue, that this is difficult if we pick and choose what we will put in its entirely. And if we go down this road, how are we going to do this in the future, picking and choosing what we put in, what we don't? Jordan does a very good job of putting who has spoken and generally about what it's about. In addition to that, the concern that you have, Trustee Couch, has been noted, and our officers are aware from the college. So if anything should happen to you, they will take the appropriate action for that individual. So I do appreciate what you would like to do. However, I will have to vote against this item at this time. And if anybody else has a rebuttal to me, we entertain that. And is there anyone else that has a comment? Okay, seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Nay. That has not succeeded. Thank you very much. Item, just to make sure I have taken care of everything with this. Jordan, does this conclude item 1.32?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Item 1.33, this is the Treasurer's Report for March 2023. Mr. Gothrop, do you need to speak to this?
Are there any questions for Mr. Gothrop? This is on. Oh, there it is. Are there any questions for Mr. Gothrop?
Are there any questions? Item 1. Yes.
I move we receive the treasurer's report.
We have a motion to receive from Trustee Reyes. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second from Trustee Wolcott. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. It is passed. Item 1.34, June Board Retreat. We are planning a retreat for June, and you have all received a questionnaire for your board. You received it this evening from me, and there's also a document from the Carver that we're looking at, the Carver model of boardsmanship. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of me, and when you complete your survey, please send it to our board coordinator, assistant secretary, so that we can compile all that information.
I'll do that as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raz. Okay. Item 1.35. This is termination of board legal counsel. Is there a motion on this topic?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I believe we've been sent a, well,
You might speak a little closer to your microphone,
I
please.
believe that we've been sent a letter from Blaha. Can that be read?
Yes. Let me make sure I follow this correctly. I want to direct your attention, all the board members, there was a letter that was sent by Collins and Blaha. It is a confidential letter to the board. If the board would like to have it read into the record, I will read it into the record. So I would entertain a motion to have the letter read into the minutes. Is there a motion to do that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we read the letter into the record.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
It has been approved to have it read into the minutes. This is a letter sent from Collins and Blaha, Amber Brenner. Board of Trustees, Mott Community College, 1401 East Court Street, Flint, Michigan, 48503. Regard Board Attorney. Dear Board of Trustees, please be advised that Collins and Blaha PC is ready to step aside as Board Attorney for Mott Community College to allow the Board of Trustees the opportunity to select legal counsel of their choosing to act as Board Attorney. We have enjoyed representing and serving Mott Community College and the Board of Trustees for over 30 years on a variety of legal issues, as well as in the role of Board Attorney for the last several years. Thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to continuing to support the board and the college as needed in accordance with established college policies and procedures. Should the board want to engage another attorney or law firm to serve as board attorney, we will assess during the transition period if the board so desires. We wish Mott Community College continued success moving forward. Should you have any further questions regarding this matter, please do not hesitate to contact our office. Sincerely, Collins and Blaha, PC. Amber Acliff Brenner. Is there a motion in connection with this letter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to make a motion that we accept Colin and Blaha's offer to step aside as board attorney so that the board can select a new board attorney effective as of the end of this meeting.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Trustee Reyes.
Mr. Chair, again, I'm a little confused because where I see that in the first sentence of the letter, please be advised, is ready to step aside, is not an offer to step aside, but an acknowledgement that it appears that that's the way things are going and there's not going to be a fight from that law firm should the board decide to go in that direction, which of course is in our purview to select a counsel. I don't like that we are at this point. I, for one, I've been here now, almost 8 years, which isn't a long time considering as long as a lot of the board members did. But I've been through through two board attorneys in the selection process for our current firm. And it's an arduous process, and it should be. We're talking about obviously expending funds to the attorneys. I value the transparency in that, following a process where we put out a request for bids for those law firms that wish to support or to represent us. This has come up in public comments in particular, and I think it's a mischaracterization of what our board attorney's role or lack thereof during some meetings as they occurred. And I know that our process is that when accusations are made, and in particular through public comment, that there is a process, an investigation that goes forward. And I know that I was absent at the last meeting, but I didn't see anything in the minutes regarding an investigation into the accusations that were leveled at our board attorney. So I have to, based on that, assume that an investigation is not complete. And again, I know that it is perfectly within the rights of the board. As we were reminded today, math is math, and 4 votes constitute a majority. So the majority of the board will is what the rule is. But I just don't think that this is a resignation letter. I believe that this is just reading the writing on the wall and saying, if that's what you guys are going to do, then so be it, and offer to help through the transition as well as any other help that the board may need in doing so. But so I guess the motion, as I heard it, accepting this letter does not, to me, tie into getting a new attorney. I think that a motion that says we terminate the services of this firm is a motion, a straightforward motion, without the letter, because regardless of whether this letter said we're ready to step aside or get ready because we're taking you to court, the board still can do whatever it wants to do. And the motion, to me, and again, based on my confusion as to what my reading of it is differently than the maker of the motion. So I'm confused on that point. So I would ask for clarification of that, and I'm confused as to what the letter has to do with whether or not we retain the services of Blaha moving forward.
Thank you, Trustee Raza. The motion has been made. It's been
Mr.
properly
Chairman,
made. Just a minute.
I can rephrase if I need to.
Okay, but your motion
Okay?
is a legal motion. That's my ruling. If you wish to rescind your second and rescind it, you can. And then you can rephrase it the way you want to accommodate Trustees Reyes' concern.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll rescind my motion and make a different motion, please.
Okay? And the second's been removed too.
Yes, I still would like clarification from Trustee Reyes when he had asked you to do that. Can you still clarify that for me, please?
Trustee Reyes' concern was in his reading of the letter that I read, that each of you have received this weekend, that it was not so much a letter of resignation, but that they were determining, and I will read it again, that they were going to, you do not want me to read it again, okay, that they were willing to step aside as board attorney. So the letter, as Trustee Swanson read it, was that they were resigning. And that was the clarification that Trustee Reyes wanted. Since there was concern about that, Trustee Swanson is going to rescind that motion and he is going to reword it. Am I correct in what?
Correct.
Okay. So that is where we are at this moment. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we terminate our relationship with the board attorney, and that we go out and look for a new attorney effective the end of this meeting.
Okay. Do we have a second for that motion?
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second. The motion is to, Jordan, I'm going to need your help here so we get this. Could you please read that back to us?
So as I believe Trustee Swanson stated, his motion is to terminate the relationship with current board legal counsel and start the process of hiring a new board legal counsel.
We have a second. Are there any comments from the board?
Sorry, and to finish it at the end of this meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Trustee Reyes.
Yes, I'm looking for clarification on what start the process is going to look like. Does that mean that we ask the administration or we order the administration, as would be the case, to put out requests for bids to law firms in order to determine who would become our next counsel? Is that the start of, in my mind, that's the start of the process? And I'm just, I'm asking for clarification on that because the answer to that would or may affect my vote. And secondly, I'm against the motion. I do believe that we have received effective counsel from this legal firm, and I think that going through the process, again, is something that it's as it should be, is an arduous process. But that I would like an answer to my question regarding what start the process means.
Okay. If the motion passes, then I will read policy 1700 and policy 1710, which lays out what we will be doing. There will be a need, and I will entertain a motion that we hire an interim attorney to work for us as board counsel, legal counsel to the college, until we have sent out an RFP and concluded the interviews, such as, for those of you that were not here before as board members, which only Art and I were, we had an interview process where we brought in the candidates. We had questions that the board had agreed upon, and we took turns asking each law firm questions, went around the table. So the process, Art, will be that we will do an RFP. We will send them questions. We will invite them in. The board will convene in a special meeting to go through this process. If there are questions that each board member would like to ask, to submit, I will be asking, not in this motion, but at a later date, that you submit those to me so that we all feel as if we have been represented at the table and asked the questions that we want. Is there any other part of that that I have not answered at this time?
No, you answered my questions.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other comments? Seeing none, I will now take the vote. All those in favor of the motion, and Mr. Jordan?
Mr. Chair? Oh, I'm sorry, I was going to ask for division of the House.
Okay, well, first we're going to have Jordan reread the motion so everybody understands it. Jordan, would you please reread the motion?
So Trustee Swanson motion to terminate the relationship with current board legal counsel and start the process of hiring a new board legal counsel at the end of tonight's meeting. And the motion was seconded by Trustee Couch.
Okay. Trustee Reyes has asked for a division of the House, which basically means we're going to vote. So, all those in favor signify, and a yes or an aye means that we are going to be removing our board attorney. A no or a nay means our board attorney will stay. So, Mr. Reyes, you have another question.
Yeah, point of order. Division of the House means that we either literally have the yeses stand to one side and the noes stand to another side, or we do a roll call vote. And as has been practice with this current board, when division of the House has been called, we've done roll call vote. And if I misspoke by saying division of the House instead of roll call, pardon my error, but I would like a roll call vote on this.
So, we have a request for a roll call vote, which I have no problem for. Trustee Swanson, as you made the motion, would you like to vote first?
I vote yes.
Yes, okay. Trustee Couch.
Yes.
Trustee Reyes.
No.
Trustee Wilcox.
That's not my name. You can't get it right.
Trustee Wilcox.
I'm going to write it down for you next time. Seeing that we got this sent to us in the mail, it seems like they no longer want to work with us, so my answer is yes.
Yes. My vote is yes. 4 yes and 1 no. The motion is now passed. Since this has now happened, we will now need to retain legal counsel. Is there a motion? I would entertain a motion to retain legal counsel to the board. Is there a motion to do that?
I make a motion that we start finding legal counsel ASAP.
Okay. We're going to have to do 2 things, and one will be an interim, and the second will be the permanent. So tomorrow I will get on the interim. Is there a second to Trustee?
I second.
And we've got a second. Is there any discussion? Trustee Reyes.
How will the interim attorney be chosen?
I will talk with the retired judges to get their recommendations from the legal community and our community to get a legal counsel that will work in the best interest of our college. And then I will appoint that legal counsel with consultation from some judges. And perhaps it would be one of the retired judges from our community. They have the standing in our community, and they could shepherd us through this. And if the judges make other recommendations, I will also look at that and consult with them about what their consideration is for that. That's how I will handle that part of it.
So for clarification, the board will have no say other than the decision that you made?
The last time we did this, you may recall, I did not, unless you got ability to participate in that with the chair at that time, there was no input from the trustees.
Okay, I'm just asking how you're going to handle it as
That's
chair.
how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to confer with the judges.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and since this process is actually of the utmost importance, I'm currently on sick leave from work as I recover from my surgery, so I do have some time to consult with you on that if that offer still stands.
Thank you very much, Trustee. There's two things that I promised that I would read. The board attorney. Generally, this is so you each have an understanding before we go through with the motion and it has been seconded. The board shall retain a qualified attorney or legal firm to handle the legal matters of the board and the college and to receive compensation as the board may provide. The duties of the board attorney or legal firm shall be prescribed by regulation. The board attorney shall be appointed during the board's biannual organizational meeting. The attorney or legal firm for the college shall have the following responsibilities. A, upon request of the board chairperson or president, attend all board meetings and act as counsel. B, render a written opinion on legal questions when requested by the board. C, prepare or supervise the preparation of all legal papers and documents which shall be executed by the board's officers, and or shall approve all legal papers and documents. D, provide such opinions or other legal information to the president which may be necessary for the immediate or long-range conduct of the college. E, represent the college is specifically designated by the board in litigation in which the college may be a party or in which it is interested. F, shall upon request represent the board in the purchase or sale of any real estate. G, attend to and act on any matters the board refers to him or her for supervision, adjustment, and or disposal. H, prepare all questions to be placed upon the ballot for regular or special elections. I, periodically provide progress reports to the board on legal matters. And J, perform such other services as requested by the board. Number 2, the board will determine compensation to be paid for legal services. 3, the chairperson or president is authorized to contact the attorney on legal matters concerning the college. 4, the board's legal counsel shall not provide personal legal assistance to individual board members, the president, or members of the staff unless specifically authorized to do so by the board. 5, in any dispute or potential divergence of interest between the board and the president shall not utilize the board's counsel to represent his or her interest. 6, the board of trustees or the president may utilize other law firms as needed to address specific needs, i.e. personnel, bonding, negotiating, etc. That concludes Policy 1710. Policy 1700 is professional services. The board recognizes the need for ongoing professional services, such as legal, architectural, audit, etc. The board further recognizes the importance of the continuation of records and relationship with the providers of those services. The president shall review the status of professional servants agreements with the board every 3 years, with the exception of the board attorney, which shall be reviewed every 2 years, and make recommendations regarding whether to seek competitive proposals or to continue with the existing provider. However, this provision shall not be construed as a commitment to employ professionals for any period. The board retains full discretion to determine the duration of professional service arrangements. We have the motion, we have the second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving forward signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passed unanimously. I would entertain a motion now to start the search process. So if you guys would, that's basically what we did. And I will start that process as early as tomorrow. I will contact the judges to get recommendations so that everybody knows how we're going to do this. I will be working on this. I will then, with the assistance, I will write up a proposal that I will meet with the president so that we can get this underway, and then we'll figure out a timeline for when we will need to have the meeting. And I would like each of you to begin thinking about questions that you would like to ask the candidates. Does anyone have any questions for me at this time? Trustee Reyes.
My question goes back to one that I actually asked earlier. The results of the investigation, because several of us have been named in public comments that were written or spoken that this violation occurred or that violation occurred, and we have a process by which an investigation can be done so that actual findings can be done. And I know that we have voted to move on, but it is unsettling to me that we do not have the results of the investigation that seem to be the basis for what has transpired tonight. So I guess my question is, was an investigation done? And if so, what are the results?
Grab the one next to you.
I know I've talked a lot tonight, but it's the first time I've killed a battery on the microphone. Was an investigation done, and if so, where are those findings, or can those findings be conveyed to the board?
There was an investigation by the board chair, which is me. And it was my conclusion that I would pocket veto it. And that was where it sat. And that was not allowed to happen because of what transpired. There have been accusations about that, but that was my decision. There were other issues beyond what was complained about in the letter. And as I understand it, because I was approached by 2 board members that wanted to bring this on the agenda, I allowed them. And this goes for all board members, if you have an item that you would like on the agenda, it will be on the agenda. And we placed it on the agenda, and now it was up to the board, and the board has spoken.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions or comments on this issue? Therefore, I will move forward tomorrow morning with this. The next item on the agenda is item 1.36. I am going to temporarily, before we go to this item, we're going to be in recess for 5 minutes. We're now in recess. We're now back in session. Item 1.36, approval of the continuation of construction of the Pearl Center.
Oh, were you going to speak? I was going to make a motion if.
You're kind of gabby, aren't you? Are you going for 2 batteries tonight? Approval of the continuation of construction for the Pearl Center. Is there a motion to do that?
So moved.
We have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr.
I have
Swanson.
a couple questions.
Okay.
We're saying the building's 50-plus years old?
Yes, that was in the presentation. this
Okay.
evening.
Has there been a structural engineer go through the building, make a report?
Hello? Okay, you can hear me. Okay. So yes, there's been, as far as structural engineers, our architects have complimented those professionals that have gone through to determine the structure as well as any improvements that need to be done. As I mentioned before, I think in the committee meetings, abatement of asbestos, all the mechanical systems, all those things need to be replaced. But if that, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question on as far as structural.
Well, a structural engineer will tell you what the bones are of the building. If it's, what I would hate to do is, I think it's a good idea to do the Pearl Center. But what I worry about is if they get into it and there's structural problems, you know, now the $33.5 million could go up to $40 million.
Right.
And I would like to see the report.
We have a full complement of, I mean, we've been working on this for the past, like I said, 3 years. So there is a full complement of studies that have been done in the building to proceed. That's why we had the architects who are designing this and help leading this.
Was it architects or structural engineers?
You know, in the beginning of the process, I know Rod, yeah, do you want to come up? Rod's our executive director of facilities, so he's been more involved with all of the planning and such going through, so.
Chair, Board, Dr. Beverly. For the most part right now, it's been IDS, which has been our architectural firm who has done their studies on this. They do bring in their own engineers that work for IDS. So to answer your question, there has been a full scope study done on the building.
Okay, and is it possible that we can review that?
I don't see why not. I mean, I would give it to the president and go that route, yeah.
Possible?
Because I've done this before, not here. When I've employed a structural engineer, they have to certify it, and there is a structural engineer sealed on the document that they gave me, that they certified that everything was correct. And if you don't know, I think that's what you're asking for.
Yes.
And, okay, so the structural engineer would, or the architect, since they've been employed, should give that to us, and,
That is correct, Chair.
okay. So I think what you're asking is you want to see the seal, that the building is structurally sound.
I would like to look at the reports.
Okay, so we want the reports.
Yeah, because my fear is getting into this, and then, you know, it's a win-win right now. If there's structural issues that we find, it can roll right out of control and cost the college quite a bit of money. And I'm just trying to do due diligence here to make sure, in my own mind.
Okay. I agree. So I'm thinking through how we're going to do this. We need the seal. We need the papers on it. And we need to see the seal. Is there anything else that anybody wants to see? Okay. Art, you look like you've got a question and you're just waiting to get a new battery.
No question.
Okay. So the motion, as I understand it, is approval of the continuation of construction for the Parole Center. I believe we can go ahead and move forward with this. It's a win-win situation for the college. It's paid for by the state. Potentially, as Mr. Wayhill had said, the federal government could potentially put money in, and the Mott Foundation, and our portion will be rather meager. If we do nothing, perhaps you could answer this, not Larry. But if we did nothing, we still need, as I went through that report, we still need HVAC and lighting. And when I started adding up those numbers, it appeared as if it's close to, not exact, but close to the amount of money we are going to be putting in with getting all this free money. Is that a fair assumption?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Not you, Larry. He's the guy that's got his feet on the floor. He knows.
I saw
Okay.
the numbers.
So, gentle trustees, after we vote on this, whether we go forward or not, we could, if you want to, make a motion that we get this report next month with the seal and any other supporting documents you want, but to make sure that you've done your due diligence, because a former board had approved this. We just want to, I'm understanding, you want to make sure that we've done our due diligence. Is this correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, well, let's go forward with this motion to vote on it, and then we'll ask for these certified documents. Okay?
Yeah, I see no problem with that. I just, and, you know, and if you say that the structural engineer has, everything's on the up and up, yeah, I believe you. I would just like to see the reports for myself, if I could.
Well, you will.
IDS has done a number of jobs here at the college as well, and has done a very fine job.
And not just at the college, but across the entire state. I mean, they're a very big architecture firm, so.
I just want to do my due diligence here.
Completely understand, completely understand.
Okay.
Okay. Motion, seconded, discussion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none.
Mr. Chair, I would like to have IDS to come and then meet with any board member that would like to see it before the board meeting so that we can make sure that we have answered all the questions.
For transparency, let's have it done at a public meeting so that there's no question. If anyone in the community, we've done our due diligence, they've given their report, we see the certification.
Yeah, I'm fine with them coming back to the meeting. I just would like to have it before the meeting so that we can make sure we have it all of what's being asked of us.
I just don't want the community to think that we are trying to hide anything. That's why I'm suggesting we do it at a meeting. So let's vote on this, and we'll decide that in just a moment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. passed unanimously. Now, thank you, gentlemen. The next item is, do you guys want IDS to come in, give us a presentation, transparency with the full board, or do you want to do the private one and then the public one?
Mr. Chair, okay. Mr. Chair, it wasn't an or. They will come on the next meeting. I just want to make sure that we do it beforehand to make sure that we have everything done by the next meeting, because I would hate that we do it at the next meeting and then you say, well, I wanted this, and then we've got to go to the next meeting. So I'm just trying to make sure that we have something to prepare us for the meeting, that we have it. That's
Madam
all.
President, that makes perfect sense to me, and if the board agrees with what the president has suggested, that's what we will do. We will have a pre-meeting, perhaps a committee of the whole, and then we will have a public presentation so everybody knows that all potential questions have been answered and we're moving forward with the Peralta Center. Is that the board's desire? Okay?
Yes.
Okay, so instead of voting on that, I'm going to do that as a consensus, and that's what we're going to ask of the president, okay? Administrative items, President report.
VP Wilson will talk about enrollment.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, this is our final enrollment update for winter. You can see from the numbers, our head count was 6,057 students. That was a 0.5 decrease from last winter. Our contact hours were 62,622.3. That was an increase of 0.3. All in all, winter was better than fall. But because of the loss that we had in fall, looking at both fall and winter combined in terms of what our original enrollment goals were, we did sustain a decrease in head count and both contact hours at 5.5 and 3.4. So in previous presentations, as I've discussed, how we perform better in head count, better in contact hours, which is the more important variable in that because that determines tuition and revenue. We continue to make sure, or see that winter is a better semester for us than fall. So moving forward, my updates will now concentrate on summer, early summer. Our numbers look positive there. We do a drop this week, so we'll see what the numbers look like, a drop for payment. So we'll see what that looks like over the next several days, and early fall numbers. And I'll be updating you on insights and early trends for next fall and through the year. Examples of that, we'll be talking to you about trends that we're seeing with new students, dual enrolled, adults, continuing students, these other areas that we've talked about, keeping the board apprised of how we're performing as we get into the heart of the fall semester. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions, trustees? I have one, just for clarification. And it said for summer. And I remember, and perhaps some of the new trustees do remember, when we used to have a spring and summer semester. And now we just have one semester that goes over the entire summer.
Right.
Summer.
Right.
Okay. So it used to be there was an 8-week semester and then a second 8-week. And now it's just like the fall and the winter semester, but it's just a little shorter, isn't it?
Summer 1 and summer 2, if, to be technical. We used to call it spring and summer.
Yes.
So we call it summer 1 and summer 2, but we do have classes that spend the whole summer. We do have classes that do the first half and second half, like you talked about.
The other question I have for you, was during the Christmas break, we had a compressed semester. Is that going to take place this summer? Are we going to do one of those again?
The summer, no. Are we looking at the mini-mester, which I believe you're referring to,
Yes.
as winter 23-24? We are exploring that and looking at that, yes.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions for? Thank you very much for your report. Madam President?
Chief Livingston, would you please come?
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to give the health and safety report. I'll start with the health report. As you know, our health services clinic is run by a doctor, a nurse practitioner, and our very own paramedic, Mike Becker. And we have a number of different categories for the last month where services have been provided. 2 physical exams, 2 medical consults, 1 tuberculosis testing for faculty, 1 tuberculosis testing for 5 students, and we had 1 employee who had a TB test. I have an updated figure on the positive COVID numbers. It's actually at 10 for the month, and we report those out to the college community on a daily basis, and we do report those findings to the Genesee County Health Department. Now, I know that come May 11th, that is no longer going to be a requirement to report to the Genesee County Health Department. Now, whether we continue to take those reports on the college campus is something that has yet to be determined. Anybody have any questions on the health report? As far as the public safety incidents that have happened over the past month, 2 information reports. Those reports are general in nature, nothing specific as far as a crime occurrence. 7 medical reports, somebody feeling ill, those types of things. We had 1 malicious destruction of property report, and what's not on there is a larceny from the auto report that just occurred this past Saturday at 6:20. Behind the RTC, somebody took a catalytic converter out of one of the vehicles that was parked there. So we do have footage of it. We're still looking into it to see what we can make of the footage on that. But we do continue to provide 24/7 services to the college community to provide a safe environment for working and for studying for our students, staff, and faculty. We just completed our active assailant train the trainer session that we had today. So we got 7 new trainers that we can utilize to provide training to the college community, take some of the pressure off the couple people that have been doing it. So we're looking forward to implementing that throughout the college campus to make it more efficient and effective for us in the future. And that's the report that I have. Anybody have any questions on that at all?
Trustees, are there any questions? I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have a full complement of officers, or do we need more?
We need more, and I've had discussions with Dr. Beverly on that. We're in the process of advertising for 2 additional officers. I wanted to get that process going before the new chief is determined, so because sometimes it's a lengthy process in that.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time, and we don't know how the process is working for getting the new chief, but you're always welcome to come back and speak to us.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Madam President?
CFO Gothrop is going to speak on the sump pump repair.
This will be very brief. As I notified you in the committee meetings, we had a sump pump in one of the underground electrical vaults that went out, and so we have water in the vault. We're going to have to shut the power down on campus to fix that, pump the water out, and replace the pump. That will be happening the weekend of May 13th and 14th. So we want to wait till the classes are all done. It's the end of the semester, disruption on campus. And then, as I told you in the committee meetings, there's a build school on the 6th and the 7th, so we didn't want to do it that weekend either. So just, if you see a bunch of police cars out at the entrances on May 13th, you'll know what's going on, and there'll be no power.
Thank you.
And, Mr. Chair, since you asked about the chief's search, the forums were held on Friday that everyone was invited to attend to look at the candidates. There will be more interviewing to occur before a decision will be made.
Thank you.
That concludes my president's report.
Madam President, do you need to address graduation?
You want to do graduation? VP Wilson, talk about graduation.
Mr. Chair, graduation is May 6th at 2 p.m. at the Dort. We're finalizing regalia sales for the students. I will have a preliminary count of the number of degrees that we will award shortly. We are also planning a festive week of activities throughout the entire week. The honors reception is at the Whiting on Wednesday at 6 p.m. We also have local awards that will be partaking in here with the students. You witnessed the Writing Center Awards, or the Writing Awards this week as well, but that's really tradition where we honor our students throughout the week and celebrate their success.
I do. I want to make sure all trustees have their attire and everybody's ready to go.
I haven't received anything yet.
You said you don't have yours yet? Yes, the regalia.
The regalia, the regalia that you tried on. Yep.
No, they'll be picked up at the, you'll get dressed at the Dort. But I just want to make sure everybody is ready and, okay.
And what time do you want us there?
We'll tell you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Miscellaneous business, chair request. When the board secretary and I met with the president, Wendy had some questions about internal candidate preferences and how we select candidates, and do we give any preferential treatment for internal candidates? And could we have Human Resources address this issue?
Sherry, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now, speak up just a little more.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. He's asking about preferences for internal candidates in searches.
So you're asking what the process is to consider internal candidates?
Yes.
Okay. So our process is to post jobs internally for a period of time. And depending on the suitability of internal candidates, we may post externally at the same time, but with the preference of giving internal candidates consideration first.
Wendy, does that help answer your question? Okay. And are there any questions on that from any of the other board members? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Second item was honoring of retired board members, and we are going to do that in September. And I'm sure there's some of the other former Board of Trustees who have never had that opportunity that would like to hear about it. Comments from the board? Mr. Reyes?
Yes. First, I'd like to thank the board and the administration for the lovely flowers that I got. They're real flowers. I mean, it's not, they weren't in water. It took me a couple days to realize that they're actually in dirt, but they're thriving, doing very well now. And then the other thing is I've got a bit of good news on this past Wednesday, the 19th. I was blessed to have a fourth grandson. Nico Luis Reyes was born at 7:12 in the morning. He was 7 pounds, 12 ounces. I got a chance to meet him a couple days ago, and he was born with a full head of hair, jet black hair, and I used to have that. So, but it's been, I've been recovering from surgery, and that's been very rough, but the birth of my grandson was definitely a bright spot, so.
Thank you, Art. Sue, do you have any comments this evening? Thank you. Wendy, do you have any comments? No. Jeff?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Do we have an executive session this evening? Do we have an executive session? I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to come to the meeting this evening. Have a safe journey home. Good evening.